When somebody says they wouldn't let me over, to me, that means they're blocking me.
You tried to force yourself into the lane.
And that's not what happened. It's the exact opposite. Liability should 100% be on the defendant.
All right. You're sworn, and Ms. Ekman, if you will, you can go ahead and present your evidence, your side of the case.
Yes. So I was in an accident with Miss Jasmine Deanna Boyce on May 22nd, 2025. I am requesting that the court make a determination of liability in this case and that I be made whole. My position as the plaintiff is that liability should 100% be on the defendant. Based on the evidence available, our insurers should have at minimum come to a shared liability determination. 100% liability was put on me. The defendant gave a false story, falsely misrepresented the accident to the responding officer. And then my insurer used that police report to determine liability based on the police report.
So let me pause you. I'm not interested in the insurance. That's not relevant in this case. So you can continue, but I don't need to know about insurance. Okay.
I guess my question, I feel like the way that the insurers handled it is very relevant. So I don't.
I assure you it's not. You're suing the other side saying she hit you. That's it. Right? You're saying she's liable. I don't need to know if you're insured, not insured. It doesn't have any bearing on this case.
Okay. So from here, I present my, I guess, arguments and evidence. Yes.
Yes. Let me just ask, because I'm going to take that as an opening statement. Attorney Johnson, yes?
Yes, Attorney
Okay.
Johnson.
Are you contesting liability?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So did you want to make an opening statement, Ms. Johnson?
Just a brief one, in that, just to respectfully remind the court that Ms. Eggman bears the burden of proof. She has 4 elements to prove her case: duty, breach, causation, and damages. And she will not be able to, in my opinion, she will not be able to prove that my client breached her duty of ordinary care on the road. I believe that you will hear that Ms. Eggman was the only one that breached that duty on that day. So that's all I really have for my opening. I'll have more obviously after Ms. Eggman presents her evidence. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Ekman.
So I disagree. So
Well, that's why we're here, and this is your chance to present evidence.
Okay. So the uh the police report, I worked on getting the police report amended.
Well, why don't you tell me what happened?
Yes. Okay. So I have a diagram if you want me to, I can pull that up and show you.
You're welcome to do that.
Okay. Okay. So with the accident, I am the yellow car, the defendant is the green car. The defendant prior to this accident was behind me. We were making a right turn, and this left turn lane takes you onto the highway. So I was taking my son to school. I take this road every day, and I go from here directly into this turning lane to wait and make a left turn into the onto the freeway. The defendant was directly behind me and made the decision while I was waiting for traffic to pass, made the decision to go around a concrete median that is here. And that's what the triangle represents, is the concrete median. The defendant went around the concrete median and landed in that turning lane. So she came from here to this turning lane here from around that side. It is not, this is a left turn only lane. You're not supposed to make a turn there. At the same time, I made my right turn from the right-hand turning lane, and I positioned myself here. And then there was also oncoming traffic that was starting to come. And I am now blocked in the middle of these two lanes, unable to get to where I was headed because the defendant went around in the wrong lane to this spot where I was going. At that time, when I was in this position, the turning lane light is a red or green arrow. It was red. That light was red.
What turning lane light? I don't know what.
Yes, sorry. So in front of this fire car, there is this is an intersection. And there are two through lights here, and where all these cars are lined up, that is a turning lane. And there is a red or green arrow specifically for that turning lane.
Okay.
So at this time, the light is red. I am diagonally positioned like this. The defendant has come around and she's sitting there. When the light turned green, I went in front of the defendant and merged into this turning lane. The defendant was very upset by that and slammed on her horn, but there was no incident. All of these cars were going and making a left turn. And so they had started to go. I had clearance. I took the clearance and went when the light turned green. The defendant behind me got upset and slammed on her horn. I want to reiterate there was no collision at this time. The defendant then made the decision from directly behind me to go around my vehicle. These are double yellow lines where the purple paper stops. The defendant went over the double yellow lines and to get around me. And then when she came back into this left turn lane, the back of her car clipped my car. I actually believe it was the front headlight that first clipped it, and then the actual damage was sustained here on her car, and then on the left, on the right back of her car, like just above the tire or next to the tire, and then on the left of my car, left front. So, and then at that point, she was now back in front of me. At that time, I was shocked and I pulled, she started to go and I thought she might be a hit and run. So I pulled out my camera to try and get her license plate number. And then at that time, she stopped moving and got out of her car. At this point, this is where I did start taking video. I don't know how, unfortunately, I don't think I can share the sound from the video, but I can show you the video and show you that I transcribed what happened in the video. So, in the transcript, in the video, what I say is, the first thing I say to her is, "You just hit my car." She doesn't look at me or say anything. She says, I'll be filing a police report. And then I say, no, I will, because you made an illegal turn. This is what it says. And then and then I say, you made an illegal turn. I was in the right of way to get in, and I was blocking traffic. And she said, no, you were in front of me and I didn't let you over. So you wanted to hit me. I'll be filing a police report. I then say no, like I keep saying that's not what happened. You hit me. And I continue to say, you hit me. She keeps saying, I'll file a police report. I say, you swerved around me over the double yellow line. And then she accuses me of trying to T-bone her. I, uh, at this point, I'm having these false accusations come at me. I'm not handling it well. I don't feel like I was aggressive. I just wasn't like, I, I was emotional. It wasn't aggression. I was emotional because I keep saying, no, I'm not. That's not what happened. And I tell her that she's making things up. She says she'll file a police report. I tell her she's making things up. I tell her this is not okay. She made an illegal turn, an illegal right turn from the left-hand turning lane. I was merging into this lane, and then at that point, we call 911, and we separate. And then I just want to point out too that she says in that video, I literally had to swerve. And this is all. I also point out that there's cameras all over the intersection. There were cameras all over the intersection. And so I thought I would be okay because there were cameras. When the responding officer comes, they talk. I have the body cam footage as well. I say, she gives her account. She says she was in the left turning lane to merge onto the highway. And I was about to turn to go left on the highway. And then she tells the officer about me. She was in the lane next to me, like the keep straight lane, and she wanted to get in front of me, but she was pushing me out of my lane into oncoming traffic. So I'm like, I need to maintain my lane. That was her account. She needs to maintain her lane. And then she says, I tried to speed up so she could get behind me, but my front left scraped the back right of her car. So there's no acknowledgement that what actually happened is the front right of her car hit the left of my car. So it's not what happened. And they go through, they say they're on the actual bridge. The officer confirms she was making a left to get on the freeway. And then she confirms she was pushing me out of my lane because she wanted to get in front of me. So I sped up so she could get behind me. And she was pushing me out of the lane, and I'm trying to maintain my lane. And the front left of her car clipped the back of my car. And again, that's not what happened. It's the exact opposite of what happened. Officer continues to check on her, get her phone number. Defendant confirms that it's her mom's car. She's on her mom's insurance policy. And then asks, were you slowly moving to try to let her in? And then she says the light was already green, and the cars in front of us had already gone. So the officer comes over to talk to me, asks me how I'm doing. I say I'm frustrated and annoyed. And I'm frustrated because she was straight up making up stories. She wasn't going to pull over. I brought my phone out and took a picture because she was about to get on the freeway. And I don't know if she realized she hit me. And then when I started taking a picture, she stopped her car, got out, and started walking around my car taking pictures. I noted it was very confrontational, and then said I was shaken up because she was telling me, like, you did this and tried to T-bone me and things that never happened. So then I confirmed my account of the incident. I said there's a right turn lane. She went behind and made an illegal turn. And then confirmed my story. Like I confirmed my story of what happened, essentially. I don't exactly what I just told you is and what I outlined in the diagram is what I explained to the officer. Like saying she went around the median, et cetera, et cetera. She's in the, and then he said, she's in the left lane in front of you. And I said, that was my opportunity to go. She was in front of me. I think this is where it's confusing. I was saying she's in front of me because I was like in that diagonal position. So her car is like in front of me, but to the left of me. So, the officer asks, you were trying to get in, and instead of her allowing you to get in, she went around you and it clipped your car. So all of this is here, and exactly what I've told you is what I told the officer, except for that I did phrase it. I did say she was in front of me with the understanding of she was in front of me, but to the left. So yeah, that's what happened. I think my argument is that even after this, I worked extensively with the officer to plead my case because the liability decision at that time was being made based on the police report, according to
Well,
the letter that I
you
received.
don't have to go into insurance.
Okay.
None of that matters. Okay,
Okay.
what insurance companies do does not matter at this point. Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah. So go ahead.
the officer initially said the contributing factor on the police report was an improper merge and then assigned the other driver no contributing factor. I extensively reached out to the officer and pled my case. I do have transcripts and recordings of those calls as well. And said
And
that
I'm going to actually object to those transcripts being presented. If Miss Eggman wanted to, she could have had the officer here so that I could cross-examine him. She did send me those transcripts. However, they are cut off. It's not the full transcript, so I can't tell what the full conversation was. And the officer is not here for me to get an idea of what that conversation was in entirety.
All right. Ms. Ekman, any response to the hearsay?
yeah, I provided the full script transcript and all of the recordings. The full
right. So the objection is going to be sustained as to the officer and whatever the officer wanted to present or what the officer saw, heard, talked about.
It's it's pivotal to the
I
officer saying
understand. So,
can't assign
but
fault.
Miss Ekman, here's the way this works: is if there's not if she's objected to hearsay, that person's not here. Okay, so I'm not inclined to take anybody's testimony on what the officer said or did without them being here. All right. So it's going to be sustained and you can continue with your case. Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah. I it's just I presented physical evidence. I presented recordings, and I keep being held to this standard
Held to what standard?
that I have to provide physical evidence to.
I haven't given you any standard. I'm
No, I
listening to
know.
your case.
From the insurers.
Okay.
Sorry.
So gather yourself. It's just officer's not here. It's a rule. It's hearsay. So you can go on and finish presenting your case.
Okay. So the officer ultimately did end up changing the contributing factor to 2626, which means that the
Again, I'm going to object because that would be more testimony that I would need to get from the officer in terms of what those codes mean. I don't believe Miss Eggman is an officer, so I don't know how she would know
All
what
right,
those
you can
codes mean.
listen. Let me pause you. I don't need a long explanation for objections. Just objection and the reason, and not like what you would have done or what could be done. Just what's the objection? So
Understood.
yeah, it is hearsay, and but you can still present, Miss Eggman. But what the officer told you about a code is not going to be admitted. So go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I had the police report amended, and that is a fact. The report was amended. So this is the first report that demonstrates operator contributing factors 11. This is my vehicle, unit 1. Unit 2 is the defendant. Vehicle contributing factors 0. That's why I was told I was at fault. Exhibit B, the officer amended the report. Operator contributing factors, code 11, operator contributing factors, gave one to the defendant, which was 26. I spoke to the officer again. The officer changed the contributing factors to both of us having code 26 and 26. Both vehicles had contributing factors.
Okay.
So I can't. I went over the defendant giving the false information to the officer. Her statements at the scene were conflicting. In one account, she said that I tried to T-bone her and that I was trying to hit her and that she literally had to swerve. In the account to the officer from the body cam footage, I can't use this because it's from the transcripts, but I can say, yeah, Exhibit E, which is the body cam footage, the defendant then said I was pushing her out of her lane and she sped up to maintain her lane. And to me, those are two different stories of what actually happened. This relates to transcripts. Plaintiff immediately, I immediately was rejecting the defendant's false accusations at the scene that I was trying to T-bone her and that I was trying to hit her. This has to do with insurance, so I can't provide that. Hold on. Thank you for the physical damages do not align with my vehicle striking theirs. So the damage, the defendant's damage, this was the only photo I could get of her vehicle, but this was the damage that I was able to capture on her vehicle. There also was a scrape up on the headlight, but I unfortunately did not get a photo of that or realize it at the time. This was the damage to my vehicle at the scene. You can see the top has a dent in it here, and then there's the scrapes here at the bottom. And then I took better photos at home. It's sideways. But it's the same damage where it shows a dent. And there's impact, which in my opinion shows that I was hit from this direction. I also, in effort to defend myself, tried to find forensic analysis for myself because that wasn't something that was being offered to me by either insurer. So the only thing that I could do is have the EDR data pulled off of my car, which said that there was little there were no events recorded. I did reach out to the analyst who told me that meant that there was less impacts.
Objection, hearsay, hearsay.
So as to what the analysts tell you, Ms. Ekman, is going to be excluded, but your EDR data that you pulled is admitted, okay?
So
Right.
great. So I did try to find data on my cards to help analyze how this crash actually happened. I also asked ChatGPT to do a quick analysis based on the EDR data. And I asked if my car was in the accident, and the impact it felt was insignificant, which is why there was no EDR data. So the impact was insignificant. Is it more likely that I hit the other vehicle or the other vehicle hit me? ChatGPT gave me a quick analysis saying that if I was already
Objection. That's speculation on something that another thing I can't
I got
ask
it.
questions to.
You can stop there, Miss Johnson. Okay, I don't. So yes, anything Chat GPT told you is going to be excluded. Anything else?
Yeah. So the other thing I want to show my efforts to still find ways to defend myself. One of those was this is all dealing with insurers. The physical damages, I don't understand why there'd be a dent in my car and just a scrape on
So
hers.
let me pause you, Miss Ekman. Do you have any other evidence to
I do.
present?
I do. So the defendant has a pattern of reckless driving.
Objection.
As to what?
Character evidence, propensity evidence.
Okay.
I'm not pointing out character. I'm pointing out a pattern.
Okay. So I'd say a pattern is an acceptable exception to improper character evidence. So I'll allow the tests, whatever evidence you want to present, Ms. Ekman. So the objection's overruled.
In 2023, the other driver was also cited for failure to maintain their lane involved in an accident.
I would like to pose another objection then, because what she's presented was
Go ahead.
in 2023.
Hang on. Give me the objection first.
Relevance, because it's in 2023. It is not relevant to this particular accident.
All right. Well, she's already, I'm going to overrule that objection. She's saying there's a pattern, and she's putting that pattern
Which shows
evidence.
propensity, which is not allowed under the rules of evidence.
I would disagree with you, Ms. Johnson.
Specifically because she said those words in her statement to the officer. Failure to maintain lane in 2023. Again in 2021, following too closely. To me, this demonstrates a pattern of reckless driving. Plaintiff, this has to do with insurance. The other thing that I just want to make sure that I'm providing is the number of times that I tried to call, that I tried to find video footage, that I called the city trying to find footage.
So I don't need to know what steps you went through and were unable to achieve. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking for evidence. So if you have any other evidence, you can present it.
I'm just trying to avoid anything dealing with insurance. Yes, so it's a demonstration of my request for the video footage from the cameras at the scene.
Okay, do you have the camera footage from the scene?
It was not available according to the
then you're not really I understand it shows your effort. That you can keep going. I'm looking for evidence.
Um, I think if I'm not able to admit the transcripts, I also have a transcript from an Allstate representative. I suspect I'll get an objection to that.
It's probably not admissible unless you can tell me what it is that you want to admit.
It's
What is it?
it's a it was a recording
Of what?
of the conversation that I had with the Allstate representative. At that point, I started recording calls because
I don't need to know why you recorded calls. So it's a conversation between you and an insurance agent.
yes.
Okay. Um, Not going to be admissible.
Okay. Yeah, I thought they were admissible. Then I have my clue report, which notes that I was that I was at fault for this accident. I have um the expenses that I've incurred because of this accident.
Okay. What were they?
$1,833.60.
Okay.
I documented how many hours I've spent.
What was that? $1,833.60.
Yeah, so all of the receipts I put into evidence, but the first was $1,000 was for my deductible that I paid because of the accident. I had to have in a car alignment because my car kept pulling to the right. That's in evidence.
Listen, nothing's in evidence. I know you may have submitted it to the court, but until you ask me to admit it,
Oh, okay. So then
okay.
I'm admitting these expenses. $1,000 deductible. The alignment was 210 and 60 cents. The filing fees for this case were 69.97, 202, and 3601.
I'm sorry. I don't know what I can't keep up like that.
Okay. The initial filing fee was 69.97. The e-file fee was $2.02. The marshal service was $36.01.
Okay.
Um, and uh, the data retrieval for the crash data I tried to retrieve was $515. The other driver, the defendant, has already been made whole. They were provided a payment of, I believe it was $1,786.46. I do have an email saying that they've been made whole.
And who paid that?
My insurer.
Okay.
And this is a confirmation if I'm admitting this into evidence. It confirms they processed a payment of $1,000, 786 cents or $786.46 to the other party on June 2nd, 2025.
Okay.
I think that's the majority of what I would be allowed to admit, other than I just want to confirm I can't admit the actual recordings of the calls
With your insurance agent?
with the insurance agent and the officer.
Um, um, are you objecting to that, Miss Johnson?
Yes, on hearsay grounds.
Okay. Yes. No, you can't admit them.
Okay.
Anything else?
Um, I'm double checking, but I think I think that's everything that I would be allowed to bring.
Okay. In that case, Ms. Johnson, you can ask Ms. Ekman questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Ekman, on the day of the accident, you were trying to merge onto the highway. Is that correct?
I think that's simplifying what happened. I wanted to get onto the highway.
So is that a guess? You were trying to merge onto the highway?
I wasn't trying to merge onto the highway. I was trying to get into the turning lane so that I could make a left turn onto the highway.
And based on your diagram and your testimony today, isn't it true that my client was already in that turning lane?
We arrived at the same spot. We were both going the same direction, so I was headed there and she made an illegal right turn.
Was my client already in the turning lane immediately before you got into the lane to turn left? I'm going based off of your pictures. Was she not already in the turning lane, the left turning lane?
We both were. My vehicle was diagonally positioned. I was in front of her. The front corner of my car was also in that lane.
In your transcript of the police body cam footage, and let me go to it if you don't mind pulling it back up. Okay, can you go down to where it's almost toward the bottom of that page where it says vehicle 1 and the sentence starts with, so I try to could you read the rest of that sentence for me?
Yeah, so I try to butt my way into the lane. She goes around me over the double yellow line.
So again, isn't it true that you tried to force yourself into the lane that my client was already in?
I'm sticking with we were both in that lane. She
Okay.
knew I was there, and she says that on video in her own words. She says I was in front of her and she was blocking me. She knew I was there. She was at minimum partially responsible for this accident.
Ms. Ekman, are you aware of any traffic laws that require my client to have let you into the lane?
I am.
Could you please provide those to us?
Yes. There are also two elements in the Georgia DDS manual that were ignored. So one is aggressive driving. A person commits the offense of aggressive driving when he or she operates any motor vehicle with the intent to obstruct another person. That's one. She admits on video that she saw me and would not let me over.
But she wasn't, excuse me, let me stop you right there. So her not letting you over is different from her trying to obstruct you or block you from getting over. Is that correct? Because also when your body cam.
Well, hang on. Let her finish answer. She never answered that question unless you're withdrawing that.
Go ahead.
The other is section 46390.
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to control you all's hearing, but Ms. Johnson asked you a question. Ms. Johnson, if you want to ask it again, you can. If you're abandoning the question, it's fine.
Would you agree that her already being in the lane, not allowing you to get over in front of her, is different from what that code section says in saying that it's an intent to block you? Would you agree?
I don't think I understand that. When somebody says they wouldn't let me over, to me, that means they're blocking me. I also think that this portion of the incident is not where the collision occurred. So I don't feel like I don't feel like it's relevant to the actual collision per se.
Okay, well, I'll move on to my next question. Isn't it true that the damage to your vehicle was on the front driver's side fender,
Yes.
and the damage to my client's vehicle was on the rear passenger side?
Yes.
Would you agree that that's more consistent with the fact that you sideswiped the rear of my client's vehicle?
Based on the damages, no.
Also, I wanted to talk about your telephone transcripts really quickly.
Okay.
A moment ago, you testified that we called 911. However, if you scroll down through, I believe it is on page 2, doesn't it show that my client was the one that called the police?
She initially called 911. I then called 911 on my own from my own phone.
Isn't it also true that you pulled out your phone, got out of your vehicle, and approached my client's vehicle, leaving your child in the car to have an argument with my client, but at no time did you call the police until she called the police? Is that true?
Objection character. I'm not sure why me having my son in the car is relevant.
All right. Any response, Ms. Johnson?
You can sustain her objection.
All right.
You can sustain her objection.
All right. Do you want to ask, you want to rephrase?
Is it true that you left your vehicle to approach my client's vehicle to record her?
I will get to respond to this, but yes, I left my vehicle after your client left her vehicle.
When my client left her vehicle, isn't it true that she came over to take pictures of the damages?
Correct. She did not say anything to me at all. No exchange of insurance information. Completely no acknowledgement there was an accident.
She then got back into her car, correct, to call the police. Is that correct?
She got out of her vehicle. She did not come to exchange insurance information. She did not provide her phone number. She said nothing to me except take pictures of the vehicle. And then went back to her car to call the police. I went to approach her to say, "You hit my car," with the intent of exchanging information. At that point, she started accusing me of trying to T-bone her and hit her car,
And
which I
then
did not do with my child in the car, if I can add.
did she not repeat to you that she was going to call the police as you stood there to argue with her about who was at fault for the accident?
I was defending myself on her accusations. She started the confrontation of making up accusations that did not happen. My continued response to that was, "That did not happen. That is not what happened." I repeatedly said, "No, that is not what happened." I was not trying to argue. I was defending myself based on accusations that were not true, that were being exploded as in something that did not happen. She was
However,
aware that I was recording.
All right. So
however,
I'm going to, I've let both of you all kind of examine what happened after the accident. But I'm going to ask you to move on, unless you've got some reason that's
rest.
relevant.
I rest.
Okay. Ms. Ekman, do you have anything you want to present based on those questions?
Yes, so I just want to point
So
out,
let me say this before you start. I've heard your side. I've heard questions from the other side. Okay. Um, unless you're presenting some new information or some rebuttal information, I don't need you to go through anything that you've gone through already. I'm going to move you on if you start going over. I want to again. So if you say again, that's almost an indication that you've told me this already. Okay. So you can go ahead. Is there something you want to offer in rebuttal to the questions that were just asked of you?
the damages being consistent with my car hitting hers, the
So that
rebuttal.
sounds like, let me just say, it sounds like that's an argument. Do you have any testimony or evidence you want to present in? I'll let you make an argument, but once we do closing arguments, that's the end of the case. And it sounds like you want to make an argument. Or you present, is there some evidence you want to present?
the just the fact that there's the dent in my car doesn't
Then,
align with the side swipe.
yeah, that's an argument. You understand? You've shown me the dent in your car. So if there's no other evidence to present, do you have any other evidence to present?
I have a lot, but I don't think the I have the DDS manual that I pulled up that's noting that aggressive driving is defined as a person that has the intent to obstruct another person. Examples of aggressive driving include blocking other drivers from passing or changing lanes, which is admitted on video. I also have in the DDS manual laws governing right-of-way. Vehicle drivers and pedestrians should always understand the rules related to right-of-way and that it is something to be given, not taken. There may be instances where you as a driver or pedestrian have the legal right-of-way over someone else, even if the other person does not realize it and is not obeying the rules of the road. In those instances, the right-of-way should be yielded in order to prevent a crash. If it's not possible, I'm starting here, I'm sorry. If it's not possible to change lanes away from the merging traffic, adjust your speed and vehicle position to safely allow the traffic to merge. That's an argument into, I guess, the law's rebuttal that, yes, the other driver had a responsibility to prevent a crash. And I think that's it.
Okay. All right. So I'll give you all 2 minutes at the most to do a closing argument. So Ms. Ekman, I'll hear your closing argument. Go ahead.
So my position is that the other driver gave an opposite story from what happened factually. Was confrontational in the aspect of accusing me of things that didn't happen, that I would not have done with my son in the car. The accident did not happen because of the merge. The accident happened when I was directly in front of the defendant, and they made the decision to unnecessarily and aggressively swerve around me to get back in front of me. That is ultimately why the accident happened. My position is that liability should 100% be on the defendant, but at minimum, based on evidence in words, this is a shared liability. Based on the other driver admitting on video that they would not let me over. And the damages, lastly, they don't align with a side swipe. There's a dent in my car towards the top of my car that aligns with a headlight hitting my car and not the other way around.
All right, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just briefly want to say that I believe that plaintiff wishes to be compensated for her own negligence. There's nothing in the evidence that she presented today that shows that my client breached her duty of ordinary care, which all drivers have that duty, including Miss Ekman. Um, Her evidence shows that my client was already in the left turning lane. By her own account to the police, Miss Ekman said that she tried to butt her way into the lane, and my client did not let her into the lane. Common sense also does not align with her narrative. Common sense aligns with the narrative that she rear-ended my client. As for a dent in her vehicle, there's no expert here to tell us whether she had a dent before or not. However, we do see in her photos paint transfer on the front of her vehicle and paint transfer on the back of my client's vehicle. Since Ms. Ekman has failed to prove all elements of her claim, I believe that she is barred by Georgia law from being compensated for any damages to her vehicle. Thank you so much, Your Honor, for your time today.
All right. Thank you both for the presentation. Evidence is closed at this point, so I'm not looking for comment from either side. I will share with you what I heard. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it's unfortunate, the accident that occurred. So, Ms. Ekman, I agree with you that it sounds like the defendant in this case violated whatever road laws and went around the concrete median. That's one issue, but she wasn't ticketed for it. And she put her car. The evidence I've got in front of me is she got into a lane in which the front of your car was also in that lane, the corner of your car, and the testimony I have in front of me, but that was not the cause of the accident, her going around the median. It may be a contributing factor to who the two of you are in your cars, but it was, I'm finding that that was not the cause of the accident. The accident, based on the testimony that I've got, occurred when she swerved out of her lane and swerved back into the lane that you had taken at that point. And I'm using that word in its meaning, taken. I think both of you had a duty. That's where I sit. Both of you had a duty, and in my opinion, both of you breached that duty. Both. So I think the accident occurred at the end when you all were both trying to maintain that turn lane. At least that's the evidence that I've got in front of me. So I will look at the amounts that were pled. I'll look at what I need to do in my order, but I'm going to find that both of you were at fault for this accident. That's it. So I'll get an order out later today, and you all are excused.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If you're involved in a dispute with another party such as this and you just can't seem to work it out, don't resort to taking the law into your own hands. You take it to court.
All right, thank you very much. Officer Burrell's waiting for you, and that will bring this case to a conclusion.